My name's Nikki. Welcome back to my channel. I'm the Obsessive Bookseller, and today I'm going to be showing you my book haul between December 2020 and now, almost June 2021. This year, I have been trying to be conservative on the amount of books I bring home, so I've mostly been buying books that were 4.5 to 5 stars that I knew I wanted to add to my collection. And I've also been pretty savvy. Normally I ask for books for my birthday and for Christmas, but I don't normally get books. For some reason, even though I say I want books, more books, all the books, people have a hard time buying me books because they feel like, well, she's got so many, what's adding one more to her collection gonna do? But they don't get how much I love them. So this year I was insistent and I got a whole bunch of books for my birthday. I got gift cards to buy them with. The first one I got is Wild Sign by Patricia Briggs, and it's book 6 in the Alpha Omega series. She's one of my all-time favorite urban fantasy writers, and I have her entire collection in hardcover, so it's only fitting that I add just one more. I've read this one already, and in the whole scheme of Patricia Briggs books, I'd say it was somewhere around the middle. I think I gave this one a 3 stars on Goodreads, but it's Patricia Briggs, so a 3 stars from Patricia Briggs is like a 4 star from anyone else. I liked the concept, I liked the backstory to some of the characters that we've been seeing throughout the entire saga, and I knew I needed to add it to my collection. Next one I picked up, Emerald Blaze by Ilona Andrews. It's book number 5 in the Hidden Legacy saga, but it's only book number 2 in focusing on the character Catalina. And I freaking loved this book. I swear these authors get better and better with time, and this is one of the strongest installments I've read from them so far. I've seen mixed reviews from my peers on Goodreads, but for me, this one hit on every single account. And I was going to buy it in hardcover anyway, but it made me buy it before it went to discount status, which is saying something these days. Okay, the next one I picked up, Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. He's obviously an auto buy for me at this point, especially this series, but I bought myself this for Christmas. I believe it was on sale for like $12 on Amazon, and heck yeah, I would have paid full price for it. But I love having yet one more of his giant tomes to add to my collection. And obviously I've read this one already. I think I liked it just about as much as Oathbringer. The first 2 are still my favorites in the series so far, but this is a solid 4.5 stars. The next thing I picked up is the Heartstrike series by Rachel Aaron. The first one is Nice Dragons Finish Last. And one of my all-time favorite books is No Good Dragons Go Unpunished. This is like very stellar. These are exceptionally heavy because they are self-published. This is an author that started out under the pen name Rachel Bach. Actually, I think that might be her married name. She goes by Rachel Aaron as well, and she's one of my favorite writers. I've devoured everything she's written. And this series is one of the best like urban fantasy / fantasy hybrids on the market. The characters and the whole feel of it kind of come across YA, but it's sophisticated enough that it doesn't fall into any of those typical tropes, and it's really creative, and it's one of my faves. I loved everything about this series except for the last 2 books. I feel like book 4 was drawn out way too long. I think book 4 and 5 could have been combined into one. But that's okay. It doesn't take away how much I enjoy seeing all of these on my shelf. The next series I've collected is The Great Coats by Sebastian de Castell. And these are really funny books. The writer has a very cheeky writing style, which is a bit off-putting, to be totally honest, at the very beginning. It kind of overdoes it a bit, but it's had such a strong enough voice and a good enough flow to the writing that I kept reading. And I absolutely loved the second book. It's one of my favorites of all time, but of the series as well. So I knew at some point I wanted to collect the series. This one was actually kind of a debacle. I knew I wanted the white covers because I liked them better than the brown, but I ordered online and they sent me a few brown ones anyway, even though I specifically selected the white ones. So it was kind of a hot mess of trying to return things to get the correct ones, but finally I have them to add to my shelves and I am super excited. Even more exciting, I finally added the Lies of Lamora Gentleman Bastard series to my collection. This is one of my all-time favorite series. It's irreverent, it's hilarious. It loosely kind of picture Ocean's 11, but in a fantasy setting and with a lot of F-bombs. It's one of those series I think I will read again and again. The author even has a fourth book on the horizon. I think it's planned for 6, but they're few and far between. It's one of those titles that sat on my shelf unread for like 10 years before I finally picked it up, and I'm kicking myself for having waited that long because they are fantastic. Top 10 favorite series easily. And I knew I needed to add a few to my collection, but I couldn't find a format that I actually liked the covers of. And these ones are definitely passable, and I like the way they look on spine-wise. Next one, Fugitive Telemetry by Martha Wells. It's book 6 in the Murderbot series, and book 5 was a full-length novel, and I actually thought it was a little drawn out. That would be my only criticism of it. So the fact that we're back to these little novellas is actually a good thing, except for the sole fact that we have to wait a whole year between them now. I love this series. If you want something that is like a light read, entertaining, Murderbot is like every introvert's spirit animal. He certainly is mine. It's the funniest thing I've read in a long time. And you add to that a space setting with entertaining characters, a good overall plot. I'm a big fan. So even though these are pricey, I think this one was, $20 price point for just a little novella. There was no hesitation in my mind when it came to adding it to my collection. This particular one takes place somewhere between, I think, the 3rd and 4th book. So it's kind of a snippet. It almost feels like an afterthought now that I know the backstory. But I am really hoping we'll get more Murderbot in the future, and this wasn't just an extra tack on to make more money. Hope she keeps writing in that universe. Next is Best Served Cold and the Heroes by Joe Abercrombie. This is book 4 and 5 in the First Law world. And I have been loving everything Abercrombie to the point where I knew I needed to collect him for my shelves. I've been very mindfully trying to only buy the books that I've read already, so that's why I don't have the 3rd one yet. I'm almost finished with it. But a lot of people didn't like these as much as the original, and this one happens to be my favorite of the entire thing so far, which is saying quite a bit because the first trilogy was incredibly strong. Now, this is not the last of Abercrombie you will see in my book hauls, that's for sure. Okay, the next one is the Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I got this one as a birthday gift, and I don't know if I would have necessarily bought it for myself, even though I absolutely loved the first one, and I loved the overall trajectory of the series. It does so many unique, original things that I've never read anywhere else but in this series. She gets major kudos for originality. There are so many ideas and cool concepts and writing styles and all sorts of things in here that I've never seen done anywhere else. And it kind of flirts on the edge of cheesy at times, but everything else is so good that you can kind of just go with it. The first book especially is one of the strongest installments I've ever read. And I feel like as a trilogy ender, the last book did a really decent job of wrapping things up. So I'm really glad I have this for my shelves. I will probably reread it at some point. Okay, the next set is the Farseer Trilogy, or at least the first 2 books of the illustrated editions. These are Not my favorite covers, if I'm going to be honest, but I love Robin Hobb so much that I didn't want to pass up an opportunity to collect her in hardcover. And it was kind of a hard decision because they are really pricey, $35. And for an illustrated edition, I think they did a good job with the illustrations that are within it, but I actually would have liked to have seen a few more for the price point. I think there's maybe like 4 or 5 per book. But what little artwork there is actually quite gorgeous. Very lifelike and realistic. And the beginning of the book has a really pretty map in it. So, and very nice quality paper. Yeah, I should have included these with my Alona Andrews, but I also picked up Diamond Fire on bargain from the book outlet. It's a $5 novella that takes place between the first 3 Hidden Legacy books and the ones that star Catalina. And I liked it enough to actually pick it up. I love having everything represented on my shelves that I love. So, and like I said, I've been really good about only bringing home books that I've read that got really high ratings. So that's why everything I'm showing you is, oh, I loved it, but it's probably picked out of 80 other books that didn't quite make the cut that I've read in that time frame. Next one is Blood Heir. This one, the duo self-published. It's a spin-off of the Kate Daniels series. It's book number 1. I did not rate this one very highly. I think I only gave it a 3 stars. If it wasn't for the fact that I was collecting everything in this that these authors have produced, I may not have bought this one. They did a lot of recap and a ton of explanations and not a lot of plot advancement in this book, but I love where it's going so much that I'm banking on the fact that the next one will probably be amazing now that they've gotten all of the talking out of the way in the first one. A little bit of fun book stuff. So Julie Chernita, one of my favorite sci-fi authors, was kind enough to offer signed book plates and bookmarks to her fans, and I signed up for one because I just so happened to see the post. So I got a blue blob book plate, personalized from the author, which goes in the 3rd book, which I have not bought yet, but it's on my list. And then her Blue Blob Essen series bookmark that is also signed. So that is a bit of fun that I can add to her series. I've been such a long time fan of hers. I even competed to be one of her beta readers, and I just missed the cut. I missed a few too many questions, but I went through and like tagged all of the books and made sure I knew all of the characters and could find different important plot points. I did this through like 6 books. It took me a couple months. So I'm kind of bummed that I didn't get a chance to be a beta reader for her. But on the other hand, that's a lot of pressure that I probably didn't need at the time anyway. But at least I know I gave it a good shot. In fact, this is one of the series I studied specifically for, and you can see how like diligent I was about making sure I could find specific things that were really important in the series. Recently, I did a book outlet order where I went through all of their kids' titles and brought home about 60 new picture books for my son and I to read together. We read about 3 books a night together, and I was kind of getting tired of all the ones we had, and I figured it would be a good investment. And the price points on Book Outlet, especially if you wait for their semi-annual sales and order in bulk, they end up being about $3 or $4 per book, which a lot of them I had never even cracked the spine on before. It was kind of a gamble, but I would say of the 60 I got, 50 of them are keepers and about 10 duds, which is something I can handle. In any case, when I ordered that, I also got 1 or 2 books for myself, and one of them was Fate of the Fallen by Kel Cade. And when I was preparing to film this video and gathering all the titles I bought, I realized that I already bought this book during my last book outlet buy in November. So now I have 2 copies, which I have not made this mistake in several years because I usually have a pretty good handle on what's in my collection, but this one obviously looked good enough that I'm like, I must have that for $5. But, you know, I hate it when they come damaged, but now I have a spare. I know nothing about this series other than a few people that I follow on Goodreads have read it and liked it. So I figure if I read it in 5 years and love it, I will be really grateful that I picked up the hardcover for super cheap. That's a strategy that has served me well in the past, so we'll see how it goes. Let you know in 5 years when I actually get to it. And the reason it will probably take me 5 years is because this is the side of the library of books that I have not read yet. And they are pretty extensive. But even so, that Kelcade one is somewhat near the top of my priority list. So we'll see if I get around to that anytime soon. So thank you for joining me on my book haul. I hope to catch you next time. Bye.